Hey everyone, this is Eli, and today I'm going to talk to you about sustainability on Florida's Emerald Coast. There are a lot of interesting local projects, such as the Eglin Air Force Base Solar Power Project, but I feel like I've overexposed the whole solar energy project thing in my last few case studies, so I figured I'd shake it up with a different and a more basic piece of infrastructure that can be easily implemented all over the world. So what I'm going to talk about is the use of swales and wet vegetated drainage ditches as a way to manage stormwater runoff. I live in Fort Walton Beach, a coastal town known mostly as a spring break destination due to its beaches, and the entire town is just barely over sea level. Keeping that in mind, according to the nearby Destin Chamber of Commerce, my immediate area receives well over 60 inches of rainfall each year, and that's heaviest in the late summer, where August and September both receive well over 7 inches of rainfall per month. To put those numbers in perspective, the top two rainiest cities in the United States are Mobile, Alabama, which receives 67 inches per year, and Pensacola, Florida, which gets 65 inches per year. And both of those are just down the road from where I live right now. With the rainfall in the low elevation combined, flooding and stormwater runoff become a serious problem here, especially if you consider the runoff will sweep up any kind of contaminants on its journey into the Gulf of Mexico. Mostly, this is just going to be cigarette butts and vehicle fluid spills, but a lot of it is also pesticides from lawns and local farms. So if you read Rachel Carson's Silent Spring, then you can probably imagine what this does to the local fish, mammal, and bird populations, many of which are protected. Local towns combat this with a healthy combination of regulations and infrastructure. In many cases, here in Fort Walton Beach, anytime construction is done on the public right-of-way, swales are required to be built or reviewed. And if they are, the Public Services Department is called in to determine the effectiveness of the swale. If you haven't heard of them before, swales are basically just simple drainage ditches located along roadways, perpendicular to the flow of water to help drain excess runoff. The logic being, if stormwater gathers in these swales and drains directly through the ground, then it won't be sweeping down the highways and avenues, picking up all sorts of pollution and nastiness on its way to the ocean. For the most part, you only see swales with a low gradient in order to slow water movement and promote drainage into the ground and eventually into the ocean. If you look here along Highway 98, you can almost see how these medians separating lanes of traffic are shallowed out in order to accomplish this and facilitate drainage into the ground. What you're looking at here is a drainage ditch that connects that Highway 98 that we just looked at straight to the Gulf of Mexico. You can see here basically it's mostly standing water right now, but it is actually flowing out towards the ocean. And right after a very heavy rain, generally you can see where the fresh water from the rain actually mixes with the salt water of the ocean, pretty much right around here near the sand barrier coming up right now. These have proven so effective at managing runoff that even private properties are adopting the concepts. Here's one in my own apartment complex. In this case here, there's almost no slope and it's constructed entirely of the naturally occurring soil. The benefit of this is that there is no chance of it sweeping across roadways and collecting pollutants, but the downside is that it creates breeding grounds for mosquitoes and frogs. Schuler did a study in 1997 that showed how effective they are at pollutant removal. Showed that 81% of total suspended solids were filtered out, as well as 29% of phosphorus and 14 to 55% of metals. Realistic estimates also put this as an affordable way to deal with stormwater runoff, with each square foot only costing about 50 cents for construction. With costs and benefits such as these, wet swales should be implemented all along the Emerald Coast in order to cut back on infrastructure issues arising from frequent flash flooding and pollutants being carried into the ocean. Here are the sources I used in creating this case study. As always, I thank you for taking the time to watch, and I look forward to your critiques. Y'all have a good one. Bye.